Okay. I'm delighted that I'm having this conversation with myself because it's a conversation of or about God with a capital G or God with a little g. And perhaps it's the most pervasive, the most destructive, the most, in some cases, the best thing that could be on earth. This thing called God, this thing called our Creator, and it's next to impossible to have a conversation about it because no one's ever seen, heard of, or talked to. Well, I guess there's a few people who think they've talked to God, send out messages to get millions of dollars or what have you. So the question, the influence, and the things that have happened on our earth in relation to this thing called God is beyond even the ability, I need to turn that light on, to speak about. Because the moment you open this domain, this context named God, you have a myriad. You've opened the, what do they call that? The all those worms. What is that? I don't recall. There's a phrase for it. It'll come to me here in a moment. But it's a whole world of ideas. I'm saying thousands and thousands. There's just no end to the contextual action that takes place when you mention the word God. There's 4,200 religions that swirl around God. And they do everything from talk in tongues to kill their children to who knows what they do. To there's going to be a rapture, and all the good people are going to go up there, and all the bad people are going to be left down here. But then there's also the meek shall inherit the earth. So if all the good people are up there and bad people are in hell and the meek inherits the earth, then what are the good people? What are the bad people? And who are the meek? So the even seeing if a conversation can be had about this, why I even chose it for a conversation is strange. As you can see, I'm struggling with it because I realize that for probably the overwhelming preponderance of planet Earth, in some form, one way or another, people have a God. They have a God with a capital letter or a small letter. The small letter meaning belief in, and the capital letter meaning there is one. It's actually real. So it's my consideration that both of those things are false. They're really for, well, I need to adjust that. For the control, the manipulation of people. And here's the problem. People who are already, Nina, already good people, good, mentally stable people who care about themselves and others, are more prone to be God believers, be God people. Not because of, let's say, God, but because that's the way they are. But they want to attach themselves to something. So, if they are, let's say, good, then they are good people. God notwithstanding. God having nothing to do with it. If they're bad people, they lie, then God has still nothing to do with it because they're bad people. They lie. The only difference between good people and bad people, good people speak the truth, bad people lie, if you will. Doesn't even make them good and bad, it just makes them that sort of person. So, if you can't tell that this is a different conversation, then difficult conversation, then I'd be surprised. There's no way of ever knowing if there is a God or not. That leaves only belief that there's a God. And belief that there's a God is the same, exact same thing as the belief that there's no God. The same people, one on one side of the fence, on the other side of the fence. And then they fight with each other. And then we go to war, we kill each other, we maim, murder, we rape our women, we fight, argue. And the essence, if you will, is, are we godly or are we not? And even in the good book, as they call it, they say, deeds alone will not get you to heaven. You must first and always believe in God. So it leaves us with this extremely important question to ask. Are you good because you are good? Or are you good because you believe that God wants you to be good and that you go to heaven if you are good? And if that's the case, then the possibility, probability, and overall truth of the matter is you're worse than the other one, the one on the other side, the one who's a bad person who lies, steals, and cheats. I'm failing miserably with this conversation. Why did I pick this as a conversation to have tonight? I don't know. So, bottom line is, unless we can move away from every iota, all of the spectrum of knowledge, thought, and belief, we will perish. And God lives in knowledge, thought, and belief. In creation, intelligence, and truth, there's just life, real life, as it's lived. are the people who lie, and there's the people who do not lie. However, those people who do not lie, at least on planet Earth today, are non-existent. They all lie. Everybody lies. Lie, steal, cheat. Don't even realize that when you lie, you then steal and you cheat. All of it together. So this conversation about is there a God or is there not a God is almost the greatest waste of time, waste of energy that we can do. Because we could utilize that energy to look within ourselves, for you folks who think there is a God, to look within yourself and say, am I living in the manner in which God suggests? However, that poses a huge problem, doesn't it? Because then you have to assume what God would suggest that you live as and then live as that. If you realize that this image thing called God was invented by man, us, our ancestors way back, in order to see if the killing, maiming, and murdering could be curtailed, could be stopped, could we become people who do not have violence at our core. And it was a manipulative ploy to have people believing in a God and then being good people and then doing things to prove that they're good people. And then it became, well, you can't just, deeds alone won't get you in heaven. You have to believe in a God. And then it went to hope and faith and charity, all these nonsensical, knowledge-filled actions, which really have no reality to them. So if you do care about and care to be godly, then don't have God as your director. Have creation, have intelligence, have truth as the place where you live from. Don't have a reason to be good. Don't have a reason to not lie, because reason is insanity. So you might consider just not lying, just caring about others, just be 100% responsible for yourself. That, by the way, if there was a God, is what being godly would be. However, it has to happen outside of God. That word God, the knowledge, the thought, the belief of God. You see, so there's a dichotomy there. It's a very close thing, but it means to say, to be the thing, not because of it, not because that you're being the thing. It means that you are the thing, with no reason, no cause, nobody telling you it, no reward to go there and no punishment to go there. It simply means, if you will, to be good. Being good means don't lie. Being evil means lie. We had that conversation together. A little, was it last night? I don't know, the last last one of these universal conversations that we've had with all these thousands of people. Oh, wait a minute, that's a lie, isn't it? Well, it's not really a lie because the internet is forever, they say. So maybe in time there'll be 1,000 people who hear this. If there are, hello, thousands of people. A perfect life to each of you. So a perfect life would be a life that's lived by a person being actually the way they are, 100% the way they are, so that they can observe, or while observing, the way that they are. Because you see, the good and the bad, the lie and the truth are right in there together. There's only a tiny little space in between. Well, I don't want to use that example. So there's a tiny space between them. And which side of the, whatever it might call a coin, you might land on, is the one that you put yourself on. Simply by this one thing. Do you tell the truth? Do you speak the truth? Or do you lie? Have reasons? If you have reasons, you lie. If you have excuses, you lie. If you have explanations, you lie. If you have reasonable, what's that other thing? I don't know. Reasonableness. Being reasonable, justifying, and explaining. Those are all a function of what a liar does. Now, there actually are things that cause us to do something. For instance, the truth allows us to be the exact way that we are. Because that means that we're perfect. To be perfect means that you are exactly the way you are, while observing yourself being exactly the way you are. That way, when you see you are beginning to push that little space there and move over into the lie, you say, oh, wait a minute. I just told a lie. You see? When you tell a lie, and then you say, wait a minute, I just told a lie, that's the truth. That keeps you balanced. But if you tell a lie, and then you say, the sun was in, the wind was blowing, I was going to do that, but I was up my car up, then you remain evil. I think I've gone too long. And my guess is complete failure. The perfect life, a perfect experience of life is sent to any and all of you one or two people who hear this recording. No, this is a video recording. Pardon me for my mistake. Damn, it's really easy to lie. One of the easiest things to ever do on this planet is to lie. The greatest and most difficult thing to ever do is to speak the truth. Because if you speak the truth, your friends, your relatives, your mother, your father, the world will throw you out. They will nail you to the cross, so to speak. Good night.